You didn't leave because you stopped loving them. You left because you finally realized love shouldn't feel like this. It shouldn't feel confusing. It shouldn't feel heavy. And it definitely shouldn't make you question your own worth. But for a long time, that's exactly what it felt like. You kept trying to understand, to fix, to be better. Not because you were the problem, but because you thought, if you loved harder, things would finally change. So you stayed. You stayed through the silence, through the distance, through the moments that didn't feel right. You told yourself it was just a phase, that they were just going through something, that things would get better. And maybe part of you knew the truth, but you weren't ready to face it yet. Because walking away doesn't just mean losing someone. It means letting go of the version of the future you created in your mind. It means accepting that the person you were fighting for was never really fighting for you, and that's painful, more painful than most people understand, because it's not just about them, it's about everything you invested, your time, your energy, your emotions, all the effort you gave, hoping it would finally be enough. But here's the truth. You were avoiding it was never about you not being enough. It was about them not being able to meet you at the level you were giving. And deep down, you felt it. You felt the imbalance, the inconsistency, the emotional distance. But you ignored it because you didn't want to lose them. So instead, you started losing yourself. Little by little, you became more quiet, more understanding, less demanding. You accepted things you once said you never would. Not because you changed, but because you were trying to hold on to something that was already slipping away. And that's where most people get stuck. Not in the relationship itself, but in the hope of what it could become. You weren't holding on to reality. You were holding on to potential, to moments, to memories, promises that were never fully kept. And that's what made it so hard to walk away, because you kept thinking, what if it gets better? What if they change? What if I just try a little more? But there comes a moment where you realize you've been the only one trying, the only one adjusting, the only one staying. And that's when everything starts to shift. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly. You start seeing things for what they are, not for what you hoped they would be. And that clarity changes everything. Because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. You realize that love was never supposed to feel like a constant struggle. You realize that you shouldn't have to beg for consistency, for attention, or for effort. You realize that the bare minimum is not love. And slowly, you begin to understand something that changes everything. You were never too much. You were just giving your love to someone who couldn't receive it. Someone who didn't value it. Someone who didn't show up the way you did. And that's not your fault. It never was. So no, you didn't leave because you stopped loving them. You left because you finally started choosing yourself. And that's not weakness. That's growth. That's self-respect. That's the moment you stopped abandoning yourself for someone who never chose you the same way. And if you're in that place right now, feeling confused, emotionally drained, trying to understand what went wrong, just know this. You're not crazy. You're not asking for too much. And you're definitely not the problem. You just loved someone who couldn't love you the way you deserved. And now, it's time to come back to yourself.